gentlemen, to another episode of the Three Wise Guys podcast. You know what? I think moving forward, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. I'm Arya. Davin's behind the camera. You can't see him, but he's right there. Say hi, Davin.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I don't know that I like this.
You don't like introducing yourself?
No.
I was trying to give you some more autonomy here.
Do your job.
No?
Introduce
okay.
me.
Luke, you don't want to introduce yourself either?
Sitting cross-legged is no longer being considered a manly thing,
Okay.
apparently.
So I'm here with Fat Boy DML.
What do you mean? Okay, all right.
No.
Shout out Fireboy.
I'm here with Dolapo and I'm here with Luke. We are happy to have you guys on another episode. How you boys doing? Welcome back, Dolapo. You weren't at the episode last time.
Yeah, no, I wasn't, but it was a good episode. It's good to be back home. Good to be back speaking with the fellow wise guys. But yeah, no, I'm pretty good. It's been a good week. Busy. How have you boys been?
It's been good. Last time we wanted to talk about our New York trip, but we didn't want to do it without you present, just in case you weren't here to defend yourself. So, yeah, why don't we?
We had some nasty plans for that conversation.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys, wanting to include me. If you didn't, this whole episode would have been like debunking all the bullshit, and I might not have been the most respectful. So
we would have wasted a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly.
No, New York was fun. What was your favorite part about New York?
Starting with me,
Yeah.
So I feel like both of you are just looking at me. You're like, "Oh, D." You're the
I'm looking this way. So now we're on camera and shit. I don't want to look at the camera all the time, but we're in the same room. Our positions have changed, so we can all kind of look at each other.
Yeah,
it's kind of nice. I like this setup.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, what was the best part about New York? I feel like just the incredible food and the spots. I think I've never experienced that part of New York that way before. I was always going to like super corporate spots where like people have like meetings and shit. But like this time it was like I was going to like food spots, like pretty cool spots, like in Brooklyn and the city. What was that? Where did we go? West Village.
Top Tie on Carmine.
Okay.
That was the place we went to for Michelle's birthday.
Yeah, I was like, that was first. But then like we did Little Frankie's, like we did Flower Shop, like not just food spots, sorry, even bars too, right? We did the spot in Brooklyn, the Chinese spot. I forget what it's called.
Birds of a Feather. Shout out Birds of a Feather in Williamsburg. Yeah. Went to Lullaby on the Lower East Side as well. That one was quite nice.
We did the Italian place on a Sunday morning. Parm. Yeah, that was like in one of
that was Little Italy. That was Little Italy right across from the ALD store on Mulberry.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was. I didn't know that was kind of where like the Mercer and like some of the fancier spots. Yeah. Like they were on like streets right opposite. Cause
Little Italy.
Yeah, so because I did some of that like after you guys left, or it was the day we went to your office, right? It's not too far from your office.
It's not too far. Yeah, it's not too far.
10-15 minute
it's
walk.
Soho. It's essentially Soho, Little Italy.
Soho, yes, that's what I was thinking.
But specifically, it was Little Italy where the restaurant was.
This man had said Little Italy like 5 times.
Yeah, well, you haven't acknowledged Little Italy. You're just trying to find other words to say it. I'm like, it's Little Italy.
Okay, yeah, I'm like, I didn't know where Little Italy was, and like I can't differentiate that. I'm talking about the anyways, this is by the wayside. So yeah, doing that, going to go see like a Yankee game, that was fun, even though the Yankees sucked ass.
They got smacked.
Yeah, by the Rays. That was good. And like even the house we stayed in, shout out to your cousin. She has a beautiful home. So like really enjoyed that, and I felt like we got to make it ours for the time that we were there. So like it was great. I got to experience New York in more authentic way just because we were there for so long. You know what I mean? It was great. Obviously got to experience the disgusting parts as well. It is as dirty as everyone tells you it is. The subway is as disgusting as everyone tells you it is.
They're getting bins now.
That's
Look
crazy.
At that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
For the first time ever, New York City is getting bins.
Like just insane. And I feel like it's crazy because I feel like people had bins. Like your cousin had bins, the neighbors had bins, and it was like on trash day, you'd go take the trash bag out of the fucking bins so it would get picked up. Like what kind of insanity backward ass society is that?
You put it on the street, and then when you put it on the street, the rats, they come and they have their meals and everything.
It's so backwards, super backwards. But yeah, that was good. And then like it was disgustingly humid and hot in New York. And like that's just insane. And I remember I'm talking to some of my coworkers, and they're like, "Yeah, well, you haven't been to Texas yet."
Oh,
Texas in July.
I was like, "Fucking," that's making me think a little bit different about all of that. So yeah, I don't know. I've gone through what I liked about New York, what I didn't like. What about you guys?
That's a crazy like thing to be like. Texas is worse because I feel like a lot of those like areas, California, Texas, etc. They'll be like, "Why would you ever live in Canada? Because it's so cold." But it's like half the year it's unbearably hot where you are. So it's like it is unbearable for a different reason, right? Like, but New York, I enjoyed it a lot. Obviously, you guys will get into some of the details, but I left a little bit earlier, and I feel like for me, like as because we're all like we're all like immigrants, and as someone who has seen like a lot of really populous cities, like from Shanghai and Singapore, and obviously we live in Toronto. New York is like a really special place in the sense of like, I think if you gathered such a density of population in one place, you're not always going to get that type of outcome. You know what I mean? Like you look at like a Shanghai or like, which I guess that's the only thing I can really speak to, but like it's incredibly populous, but there isn't as much like energy or culture. It's very like, I think because maybe it's a little bit more like not capitalistic, but like states and like very like objective focus. For example, I was thinking about, we went to a concert, which I'm sure Arya will talk about a little bit more, but like, there was a ton of vendors there. All the vendors were like, a lot of them were working together. They were individually like making their own things. Everyone was kind of on their own hustle, which I thought was like a really unique thing, right? Like there was a huge community gathered for this free event. And then it's kind of like also supporting the community because they're serving the community. People within that community are selling things, right? And then the event itself was sponsored by like a bunch of organizations. Whether or not you want to say that's just like a PR move, they're like supporting the community, which that's unique. Like you're not going to see that in like a lot of populous cities, which I don't know. I thought that's pretty awesome. Like
vendor is such a formal term for them too. It was members of the community who made alcohol and packaged it in bottles.
What were they calling it?
They were actual cocktails. They were like nutcrackers. They were making like
that's
an actual cocktail.
Yeah.
Oh really?
It's a real cocktail.
What is in it?
I'm not into it. Was whatever we drink. Yeah, Davin. What's in a nutcracker?
Because like,
it was strong. It was like coconut and something.
Yeah, a potent.
Yes, he was like in Harlem and the Bronx.
Yeah. Okay.
Rum, vodka, fruit juices, grenadine, triple sec, fruit garnishes.
Okay.
They had coconut in ours.
Yeah, I just remember they were calling it nutcracker, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Is that what they're just calling like like a mixed drink?
New York-based cocktail apparently.
Wow. Look at that.
When you mix,
it's a highly customizable drink. So yeah, like they're just fucking throwing whatever they want.
I think maybe the feature is it comes in those like bottles that you like kind of crack open kind of thing.
It was a regular bottle, I think.
Yeah.
But it is. I don't. Maybe it's because it cracks your nuts open. I don't know. It's strong, right?
Yeah.
So
very strong.
Anything with crack in it means strong, I guess.
Oh jeez.
No, the drinks were sick. There was something like joints and shit too. It was pretty cool. Yeah, it was just a community. So it was a free concert for those of you who, I don't know. Did we talk about this on the last?
No, I don't think so.
It was a free concert. Common came to do a free show in Bed-Stuy, and it was.
Don't forget Pete Rock, man.
Pete Rock, Pete Rock was part of it because they have a joint album that they just did together.
The Auditorium.
Shout out Pete Rock, shout out Common. I thought this was insane, so I found it. It was put on by Summer Stage. It's like a community initiative where they do a bunch of concerts and everything. Not all of them are free, but this one was. And we go to the show. I think at first for a second I thought it just wasn't happening because we walked in. It was like King Von Park or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Von King Park, whatever. Anyways, it was in Bed-Stuy, and we walk in, and there's this auditorium style, sinking area that you go into is full of graffiti. It just looks not put together, and we're like, is this where they're supposed to do the show? We walked a little bit further past, and no, they had a whole stage set up. They had like tents, booths, everything. It was this whole production. And in my head, I couldn't stop thinking Common was scheduled to do a show in Toronto in August, a stadium show at the ACC, at the Scotiabank Place. And I'm thinking he was probably selling those tickets for what, like $200-300? And this is just a free show in Bed-Stuy. It hammered in a lot of what we were talking about, where it's a community thing. It's like a culture thing, you know, that shows like this are available. You wouldn't see something like that in Toronto, you know?
No.
If anything, you probably see like EDM in the park, which does happen in Toronto.
Yeah.
You know?
I was gonna add too. I feel like I remember we were talking about that, and I was like, the auditorium just dropped, and he's about to go on tour. I felt like that show was kind of like a dry run, like a tester, and then it was good because we're in fucking Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn. Like that's one of the
Biggie's home.
Like,
That's where Biggie was born and raised.
Yeah, if anyone's gonna appreciate some hardcore like scratching, some Pete Rock beats, and some Common, like it's gonna be them. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it was like I feel like he's like, yeah, let me go test this material out on this crowd and like like get the feeling, get the vibe. Like he came on with his like Sage or Palo Santo and shit.
Yeah, he was burning Palo Santo. We'll post a video of it if we can find it.
Yeah.
I took a video. He was literally burning Palo Santo in the middle of his set.
Yeah.
In between songs, he would go and Palo Santo his head, Palo Santo the mic, get the negative energies away. It was a vibe.
Yeah, and I was just gonna add to that too, where that's like I feel like one of the benefits of being in a city like New York, like the event was sponsored by like Capital One and like Bloomberg Philanthropies, like huge like companies, and it's like they're just throwing like concerts in like in the park for free. And it's because it's a big city, there's a lot of money, and like you're not gonna find that in many other places in the world where you get to see these world-class artists like just performing for free in a park, paid for by like a couple billionaires and billion-dollar corporations.
For free?
Yeah.
Hey, well, capitalism's not dead yet.
No.
You almost feel like it's like one of those things where how like they'll say like artists will make certain songs for themselves. It feels like kind of like that's like a show for himself. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like, not to say that he doesn't enjoy playing other shows, but I feel like this is one of those things where he's like, this is my community, this is my people. I'm really excited to like show them this new music. And like even like for example when he was freestyling and he was playing some of the new stuff, like I've never been at a concert where an artist did that and there was like that much energy. Usually like at a concert, if an artist is like, hey, let me play you some new stuff, the energy is not the same as like the hits, right? Like because it's like people are like, well, what do you mean? Like,
hits were hitting. Like I was telling you, I don't know who I was telling. I was like, this guy has like 6 classics off of one album, and he played all of them.
Yeah.
Most rappers, they go through their whole lives without making a single classic. This guy has 6 off one album.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Insane. It was great. Shout out New York. Shout out culture in New York.
What else did we do together while you were there? Like I know we saw museums. We did Michelle's birthday.
We did a comedy show too.
We did a comedy show.
That was the
that
second
was
or
probably
third time we went
like
to Gotham. It was okay.
Yeah. It was one of the weaker ones. I feel like like in comparison to the other one we saw at Gotham, that show I think was, in my opinion, better.
Yeah.
But then like this one, I honestly thought like we saw some shows in Toronto that I enjoyed more, to be completely honest. Like
we need to start remembering the names of these comics we see at these shows.
That's fair. I was gonna say yes, like overall you're right, but I feel like that was one of the few comedy shows where I feel like there was like a classic moment because he made the joke about like the assassination where he was like, Obama wasn't a good president because no one tried to assassinate him. And I kid you not, like a week later, that's when Trump, like the assassination attempt on Trump happened. And then I was like, oh fuck, wait, I guess Trump was a good president by some type of measure. And it was just like funny, like,
Insane.
But like, yeah, that was like, it took like a week for that joke to pay off. But you're right, like overall, not the best show, but like there is that moment. I forget the name of the guy, he was a black guy.
The host was good too.
Yeah, the host was pretty good as well. Like he was all right. So yeah,
that guy's set got so much better because of like that timely event.
Yeah, just because of the time. Yeah, that's facts.
Imagine like that happens to him live on stage. He's like, oh, Obama's not a great president. You know why? He was never assassinated. And then someone's in the crowd's like, yo, by the way, like news alert.
Yeah, like Trump about to get assassinated type shit. So yeah, no, that was good.
Wait, and we were in New York when that happened too. We were on our way to Birds of the Same Feathers.
I remember we were on a train. I don't remember where we were going.
Birds of
a Feather.
Birds of a Feather.
Oh, Birds of a Feather.
Yeah.
Not a Christian place.
Yeah, I remember we were on a train when that happened. Like, we did the museum, like the
museum nights.
Yeah.
So every Friday in New York, there's museum nights. Where participating museums will essentially just have like a big cocktail hour. They'll sell drinks, and then you can just go and explore the museum for free. So I forget which one we went to, but it was in Chelsea, right?
Yeah, like it was around that area.
It was around that area.
I think it was like a
really
Himalayan
nice.
art one.
Yeah,
Asian
it was
art
like,
or something.
Yeah, it was like
it was like
Asian art.
Buddhists, like it was mainly Buddhists, like art, and like it was exploring like the Kashmir. I remember wherever Michelle was from. Sorry,
Pakistan?
Michelle. Yeah, like in Pakistan, India, like the Buddhist roots, and like some of the big art movements.
South
and stuff
Asian.
Like that.
I think it was a South Asian museum, South Asian based museum.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say?
No, yeah. Like I was like, I think it was the Buddhist. Like the connection there was like the Buddhism stuff came later, and that started to become like an influence on the Hindu, like,
on
culture,
the culture
and stuff like that. And then the art started to change. And I remember we were looking at like the tapestries, and they were explaining how like the parent deities would be at the top, and then the protector. Anyway, it was cool. Like
It was cool.
I think honestly, it's such a testament to like that is such like a New York evening where it's like you go and you do this like pretty intellectual cultural thing, and then you go and like eat a bunch of good food and get drunk, and then you go into like a comedy show. It's like it's such like a
It was so different. Yeah, like that whole night, that was a great night. We went to the museum. We got pretty tipsy at the museum.
Yeah, Top
we
Thai.
chilling. We went to Top Thai.
Delicious.
Shout out Top Thai. Honestly, one of
said
my
it like
favorite
3 times.
one of
go
my
ahead.
favorite places in the entire city. It was actually really, really good.
Great Thai.
And I think I was boosting it a lot before we went even. I think I was telling you guys about this like the last times that I had gone. I want you guys to try it.
lived up to it.
Yeah, no, it was
And
great.
then comedy show to end it off.
I might go to Chiang Mai with.
And then we went to Popeyes after.
We did go to Popeyes because we were
We went to,
out. Yeah.
Popeyes after.
No, that was not a
chicken.
different
It's called
day.
Texas chicken.
That was a different
day?
Yeah, we did Popeyes the first day when we went out with my coworkers.
Right.
Yeah, I remember we went to that Victorian bar.
No,
and
but I
then
thought it was a Tex. It was this place called
could've sworn
Texas chicken. It wasn't Popeyes.
Did we not get more food when we got back at the end of the Texas chicken on Broadway in Bushwick?
That day was the day we did the concert.
Yes.
Yeah, we're jumbling up days now.
Yeah, we're jumbling up days. There was a lot that happened.
Yeah.
A lot that happened.
I'm thinking, what else did we do? I know you guys went
Luke
jogging
for a run in 35 degree weather.
Yeah, this was insane.
That was fun. They had a cool events pop up there, which again is like it was like this thing where it was like a speed dating thing called like Hitched or something, where basically the theme is like there's these organizers and they give out handcuffs, and then you go around to the participants and you're like, would you like to get hitched? And then you guys handcuff
Great.
to each other, and then like you guys go on a date.
Great.
Luke didn't know what was going on. We were all like, we were all standing around, right?
I thought it
Checking
was
it
like a
out.
protest
I was
or
reading the
something.
sign. Luke thought it was a protest. So I read the sign. I realized it's like speed dating. People are leaving handcuffed together. I come out and I see Luke come out of the car with a handcuff in his hand.
Are you kidding me?
By the way, at this point, I didn't know it was a speed dating thing. I was
How
like,
did you get a handcuff?
And I
He
was
just
like,
went
look,
into
Arya,
the
they're-
box and grabbed one. And
yeah, I was like, look, Arya, they're giving out free handcuffs.
Where is this handcuff?
It wasn't a good quality one, so we were like, I threw it out.
It's like a dollar store handcuff.
Okay, I'm like, what is like? I missed that. Like, I did not know who was out
insane.
here trying to get handcuffed.
Well, okay,
He
first
didn't
of all,
know. He didn't know. But we're
thought it
not
was-
supposed to just take them and go.
Like, I
We're
don't-
supposed to bring them back.
Like, I just don't understand the fascination behind. Oh, I see a box of handcuffs. I'm gonna go put it on. Like,
it's the combination of that's something I could find utility with in my own life, but also it's a free thing.
Okay.
The Asian in me like comes out, I'm like, fuck, free? Can I get 2? Like, my friends over here just do.
The crazy thing is, you'll go to the speed dating thing. Can I get a handcuff? Can I get another one for my girlfriend too? Actually,
I don't know. Like, are you putting smut on Asians, Davin? Like, as an Asian, like you see free things.
are you
and you're-
co-signing this?
Yeah, like, and you're.
I second it.
Oh my god. Okay. All right.
You guys will make fun of me and Davin, but we'll leave with like 3 times the amount.
Okay. All right.
Because here's the thing, I feel like I learned this from osmosis by my mom. It's only a moment of shame for a lot of benefit afterwards. Okay. Anyway,
It's all the hot pot and KBBQ too. That's like trained in your brain.
bro. Okay, so this is crazy, but like, sorry, I want to quickly talk about like when I was in Toronto afterwards, and then you guys can talk about the rest of your trip. But like, recently I went to Haidi Lao, which if there's any Asian listeners, you guys know what Haidi Lao is. I didn't know this, but this is a huge conglomerate in Asia.
Okay,
Like,
wait, Luke. I'm not an Asian. What is Haidi Lao?
It's a hot pot place.
Okay.
But more than that, like Haidi Lao is like a big like like institution. It would be like the equivalent of like a KFC that owns Taco Bell and a bunch of different things. So it's like an Asian version of this.
Okay.
If you ever do any research on the top 10 food brands in the world, I think 3 of them are based in China alone, and they only service China. So Haidi Lao is one of the few brands that is like breaking out into North America and things, and they do it really like the integrations and everything is crazy. Like they have really sophisticated software. They do partnerships with like really popular brands in Asia where if you go there you get benefits. So for example, they did like a really popular collab with a popular game in Asia. So if you go to eat there, you get like additional currency in your game. So imagine like if like you went to like a Jack Astor's and by ordering a certain meal, you got like FIFA points, for example, that you could go back and spend money on, right?
That'd be kind of dope.
Really cool like integrations, all this stuff.
That's what it looks like.
Anyway, they're famous because they do like these noodles, but
Do
this
they
is
dance too?
how cheap Asians are. So Haidi Lao is not an all you can eat place. Yeah, you have to order per item,
a la carte.
right? It's a la carte.
Okay.
There are like viral videos of people, like Asian people, going to this place with like fucking bags of like fish, and, like steaks and shit. And
Their own.
they bring their own shit, and then
Bring
like
your own
they
BYOM.
take the sauces, and then like the waitresses are walking by, and they take an entire fish and fucking throw it in there. And I'm like, first of all, like if you're gonna do that, like at least make it more like. It's like stealth, right? Like do like fish balls or something. They're taking a giant ass halibut and just throwing it.
Like, how do they not stink? Like, how are they not like figuring out that these people are smuggling
No, they get
raw
caught.
meat? Okay, yeah.
But like still,
They'd
it's
have to get caught.
Viral hot pot hacks.
Jeez. Oh my
it's just
God.
like the fact that they're like they think to do that. They're like, oh, this place isn't all you can eat. Let's just bring some of our own shit there and cook it there. Like
easy.
that's crazy, man.
No, it's insane.
Anyway,
Imagine they had like corking fees, but for fish.
dude, they would probably love. Honestly, we should send Haidi Lao an email. They should do that.
No.
All right, well, let's send them the clips.
You still
of
have
this
to pay
episode.
for like the soup.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I feel like the only way they do it is if you like you bringing your fish does not mean we're gonna charge you less. Like, you still
No, like
pay.
it's like
No,
a
it means they're
corking
gonna
fee at
charge you
a-
more.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you bring your own bottle of wine to the restaurant.
They charge you like a-
charge you
yeah.
for
Yeah,
opening the bottle.
Yeah, for opening the bottle. True.
It's usually like $20 to like $50 for
It's
to
just
open
kind
the
of
bottle.
insane. Like, you might as well just buy a
Just buy a
bottle.
bottle.
This is insane.
Anyway, Haidi Lao, amazing. But the reason I brought that up is I wanted to like quickly talk about eating in Toronto in comparison to New York. And the big difference I find is the reason I came back was to celebrate my 1-year anniversary with my girlfriend, and I booked like.
Oh, look at that. We're so happy.
Thank you, please.
We'll
more
get a
sarcasm there.
soundboard in at
Yeah.
some point.
But I booked like a reservation at this place. I don't want to name it because I personally didn't. I was a little underwhelmed by the restaurant. I don't really want to like shit on it, but
Why not? Shit on it.
because I don't know, like being a
This
restaurant.
relaunch means we're more
Yeah,
responsible.
being
now.
being a restaurateur is hard. So like we went to the spot, but before we went, we were in Kensington. We had a lot of small eats, right? Like we went in, we got like a beef patty, and like we went to Juicy Dumpling, like because we were there earlier in the morning, and like. I feel like that's the thing about Toronto. Like the really good food spots, similar to New York, are like those like mom and pop spots. But New York did a good job of elevating those mom and pop spots into like fine dining experiences. I find a lot of finer dining experiences in Toronto are too gimmicky. Like they don't combine the fine dining with those like traditional, like it just tastes good. You know what I mean? Like I feel like when you get food, the first thing you should do is like, does this
Tastes good.
thing just taste good? Yes or no?
Yeah,
And then from there, you can innovate using different textures and techniques and things like that. I think sometimes Toronto restaurants focus too much on like the technique and not on like, does it taste good as well? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel like that to me is the biggest difference between Toronto and New York dining. You can find good like food both places. New York, I think any spot you walk into is honestly pretty great. You can't necessarily do that in all places in Toronto, but yeah, I don't know. Fine dining in Toronto is, in my opinion, like at least all the places I've been, pretty overrated.
I don't know. I don't know if I've been to many fine dining places in Toronto. I'm trying to think.
I've been to a couple.
I'm sorry, by fine dining, I just mean like, let's say the bill for each person is going to be
Yeah.
at minimum $100
Yeah,
plus.
Yeah, I've been to a couple.
Okay, yeah, I've been to a couple.
I mean, yeah, like I think New York generally just has like better. Like
New York
first off,
definitely has
more
better.
options, greater variety. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think like New York has place. I think I went to one place that was like nice, and I was like, this food is like okay. Like, you know, it's not fantastic. You know, so yeah, like I'm sure like places have that, but I'd imagine like the strike rate in New York is higher than in Toronto for sure. So
Well, it was Luke and I went to an omakase in New York, and we
blew a bag.
Oh, I mean, blew a bag. It was $100 a head. You know what I mean? It's a normal. It's actually pretty low for omakase standards. But that's not even the point of the story. The point of the story is the chef that we met while we were. What was his name? Mike.
Michael. Yeah.
Michael. Yeah, we saw him on Instagram. Great guy. He sat us down. You know, we explained all the piece of sushi that he made for us. Gave a little bit about his history. You know, he's been here, he's been there. He's cooked for like Wolfgang Puck. He's cooked for who's the Japanese guy he's cooked for?
Iron Chef Morimoto. Something Morimoto. I don't remember his first name.
I just don't want to say it because then people accuse me of being racist. And I think one other famous chef, something like that. Anyways, we were out after the meal. You know, Luke and I were outside. We're just having a smoke because we had drank a little bit. You know, just letting that hit a little bit. But he was also outside having a smoke, so we chatted with him, and he's a really nice guy. He offered to actually take us around the city. Well, he didn't offer. We asked to take us around the city and like give us a little food tour where like we'll buy you your meals. You know what I mean? If we're ever back in the city, like we'd like to set this up. And he was telling us that I don't. Like I'm a professional chef, this many years experience. I have money, you know what I mean? I can go to all these nice restaurants and go check it out. But honestly, the places I like are the non-expensive places, like the less fancy ones. He's like, New York just has so many different types of food and so many different types of people, which is why the opinions on them are so varied, and you can't necessarily take everything to heart. You got to take everything with a grain of salt. There's just it's the amount of people and the amount of options that just make it steps away from everything, because people are just constantly going to iterate on the food that's there and what you can eat. And I thought that was very interesting. So New York definitely has a better food scene. And
I was gonna I know we've been talking about food and we've been talking about nice restaurants. I'd be remiss if I did not bring up the chopped cheese and what it did to my life. If you're from Toronto and you're a restaurateur or you're opening a convenience store, you need to get a deli and you need to get on chopped cheeses. A fucking sop. Okay, I think it was like a week. It was like a 5 to 6 day stretch.
That's
where
all
every morning my day started with a chopped cheese sandwich. And it was insane because it wasn't the same sandwich. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, like I want to do the banana peppers. I want you to add some what's it called, some hot sauce and some mayo this time. Sometimes no hot sauce, no banana peppers, add some of this, add some of that, take that out. Oh my goodness.
I love the deli culture.
Jeez, the deli culture is like the sandwich game in that city is next level. And just the accessibility that there's every convenience store around you makes that, and you can now compare whose is better than the others. Come on. They were how much were they? $7?
No, $7 there's $8 or $9 depending on you get a hero or a roll.
Yeah, roll.
You remember I was telling you about this for so long. You were very skeptical.
I was.
It's just a sandwich. What the fuck is chopped cheese?
I was.
But it changed, first bite. We have a video of you taking your first bite too.
And
I was.
The crazy thing is that wasn't even the best
it wasn't.
chopped cheese. I think the salt and pepper
Yeah,
deli,
the
which
second
is the
spot
one,
was even better.
Yeah, the one on closer to Broadway, in between us and Broadway. Because I was looking on Google and I was like, the nearby deli is okay, but I kind of want tried something different.
Yeah, I remember.
And we went there and it was fucking phenomenal.
Oh god,
it was $1 more expensive, but it was much better.
But it was also I think it was funny because afterwards when I came back to Toronto, I was watching this video Phantom. This guy that's on Amp, he was one of the signs of a good New York deli is that it's refrigerated, or it's AC'd. I was like, oh shit, that was a difference in the second deli. Anyway, New Yorkers are probably listening to this and cringing, but anyway, it was really good.
As both of us are wearing the hats we got in New York.
That's true, actually.
That's fair. Yeah, and then like I feel like we could probably wrap up the New York thing, but I just wanted to add we did a bunch of driving range. We hit the driving range. Like
shout out Chelsea
times.
Piers. I love the driving. It's the only driving range on the island.
Oh yeah,
It's the only one.
really?
Everything else is virtual inside. It's the only one where you can actually go swing outside. It's like the docks in Toronto.
Yeah.
That's
That
the
was
only
cool.
one in the city that's outdoors. But no, it was really pretty, really nice. They should really turn that into a Top Golf.
That'd be cool.
They should
Top
really
Golf's pretty
it's a perfect opportunity because there's no
Yeah.
Top Golf. The closest Top Golf is Long Island.
Yeah, fuck that.
So it was great. Yeah, the golf
Yeah.
was nice. But then Dolapo, you went to Miami after.
yeah.
Jammy.
I hit up Boston first. I didn't do too much. I feel like I got to do Boston again, and then I hit up Miami, which is super cool. Like,
Sound.
wow.
Why you sound like a bad bitch?
Yo, Miami. Ooh, screw.
What the fuck was that?
How about comfortable?
What the fuck was that?
Blame my girlfriend. Yeah, no, it was good. I was telling the guys, Miami reminded me of Nigeria. Well, mainly just because we didn't stay in the best part. We stayed in Little Haiti. Very close to Wynwood. I don't know if anybody knows that, but yeah, don't get me wrong, it was great. A little scary. I feel like we're in the hood a little bit, but we talked to some of the guys in the hood because we needed a jump start, and they were very kind. Okay, don't always judge people by their cover and by the way they look and by what you think or by the area. Okay, have a conversation with them.
Dolapo's about to do a PBS special.
Honestly, because I remember we were all scared. I was scared. And then I was like, fuck, how are we getting? We don't have a jumper cable. We had a friend and we are like, fuck, you're gonna have to go home. And I was like, wait. This dude stands outside 24/7 by his car, playing music and other things really loud. All the time. We come back at 1 a.m. and he's still there. I'm like, why not just go have a conversation with him? He might have a jumper cable. It's not like he hasn't seen us come in and out. And we go talk to him, and he did. And he got the car started, real quick. And he was a very chill guy. And I'm like, huh. You know what? I have no reason to be scared of you. Just because you stand outside 24/7 doesn't mean I should be scared of you. So yeah, we did that, obviously. Airbnb was great. I was with a really great group of friends. They're a little different. I was talking to my girlfriend too about how I just have different groups of friends. I have you guys, which is great. And I feel we're very, very similar in terms of just the way we view the world and the way we view things. But the group of friends I went to Miami with, they don't drink. They don't smoke. They don't they de-stress by I guess dancing and having a good time, I guess, sober, which is a little, not
Do you see how confused Dolapo looks right now? Everyone's zooming on his face right now.
I don't want to be I'm not I can only have fun when I'm drunk, but I prefer it. and it was just interesting where I bought 2 bottles of tequila at the start of the weekend, and both bottles were not completely empty 2 days later, which was a shock to me, and probably a little bit of a disappointment. And obviously no one smoked anything really.
When we get a bottle of liquor in the house, it's gone within a week, and then there's still 2 people in the house that are wait, I didn't get a shot.
Facts, right? So that was refreshing, but that didn't stop any of the fun. We hit a club. We hit STK. It was one of my buddies from high school, his 25th birthday. So we did that, and then we got a boat. We got the boat. We got the jet skis. We did that. That was really fun. That was really fucking fun. And then obviously we got drinks. We got some Argentinian empanadas and some kind of I forget the name of the dessert, but it I forget what's the stuff that your mom makes. That you
Baklava?
brought baklava. It was very, very similar to baklava. I forget what exactly it was, some dessert, and it was so nice. We fucked up a little bit on the boat, and the captain had told us at the beginning when we brought the baklava and the empanadas how he was Argentinian. The captain, and he was like, "Oh my god!" His first mate was hide this from the captain because
Eat it all.
yeah, he's just gonna eat everything. You know what I mean? And we're like, "Oh, okay." At least we know what he likes. And then when we fucked some shit up, it was oh, just go. Let's just go give him. Not you want one. We packaged like a couple like empanadas and like the sweets, and we're like, hey man, we're so sorry. We're gonna clean it up. Like, by the way, for all your troubles, here's some of that too. So that was great because I think it was like a $100 fine or something like that.
Wait, what did you do? Someone threw up.
It's like we popped prosecco on the deck, after asking him like 2 times, I just didn't understand exactly what he was saying because I was a little too excited and not the most sober.
I've seen a video of this group of people on a boat in Miami, popping a bottle, and the captain goes off on them. He's like, I told you guys, don't spray the fucking champagne. And
that was us.
That was you.
I remember like we started doing it, and he literally comes. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm like, I remember like I just paused because it was me that we had a conversation with, and I was like, I thought you said we could do it at the back. I was like, yes, like out the boat, and I was like, that makes sense. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like we fixed that. The empanadas were beautiful. Obviously, there was some shots that had to be had. We did the jet skis. My friend whose birthday it was, him and his girlfriend went on a jet ski and they fucking flipped over. Like, it was the most hilarious. His girlfriend can't swim either, but she had a life vest on. But oh my god, it was the funniest. Obviously, people were scared. But like, I'm like, she has a life vest on, like she's fine, life jacket rather. So she's fine, but it was the funniest thing. Shout out Sonia, like, my bad. But yeah, it was the funniest thing ever. But yeah, no, like Miami was great. It was hot. We hit the beach as well, Miami Beach specifically. Like, it was great. Like the people there, like, it's such a different city. I think it's like Ocean Drive because we went out, right, as well. We hit the club and, like, I feel like the club was like a street. I think it was Ocean Drive. It was like a street, a bunch of clubs, kind of like our King Street or something, a road, and then just water. Like, in between. And, like, it's like literally, like, all the buildings, the street, and then water. It's like less than 500 meters. The water is like less than 500 meters from the clubs, and it's boats just parked there. And I was like, that's insane. You don't see that in every city. You know what I mean? You don't. So like, yeah, no, Miami is beautiful. Like, I can understand. Like, why people like get there and get lost there. And obviously we were by Wynwood, which is like the art district too, and there was like the most graffiti I've ever seen, like, in a city ever. And, like, it was also beautiful. Do you get what I mean? It wasn't just, like, shitty graffiti. Like, it was, like, people doing art. I remember I was talking to some locals there, and they were like, yeah, like, it's all kind of gentrified now, and it's brands bringing in artists to come do the graffiti. But, like, back in the day, it was, like, actual artists. From Miami, just like, like expressing themselves like through their art right now, as opposed to trying to promote a brand. Right. You know what I mean? I remember I saw this super dope Miami Heat mural. Like, it was like, super recent with like Jimmy and the guys, and then with like Dwayne Wade and like some of the other like, OGs, Udonis Haslem, like just kind of like looking down on them and shit. Like, it was super dope. I had a great time there. I had a great time in Miami. It was beautiful. Great. Beautiful. Yeah. Everyone do it at least once. Yeah.
On the flip side, I went to Chicago right after.
Yeah.
I'm not going to detail the entire Chicago trip. It was actually it was great. I really enjoyed it. It was, however, the third time I was in Chicago in 3 months, so I was a bit tired. I'm not gonna lie, and already being away from home for almost a month, it was starting. I was starting to feel a little bit weary, But I went for Lollapalooza. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a music festival. It's a huge music festival. They have like EDM, they have R&B, they have house, things like that. It wasn't really EDM. It was like house, techno music, you know what I mean? Chill stuff.
What's the difference between EDM and house?
I don't know. I think house is a type of EDM.
Yeah.
I think EDM is the larger term, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think I prefer house to EDM, and I'm not even sure.
It's just I don't like hardcore EDM. I like house because it's like chill, you know. And anyways, whatever. I've never been to house music.
It started from Chicago too.
Oh, okay.
Wow,
maybe.
I didn't know that.
Is that why Lolla happens in Chicago?
Possibly.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
EDM, electronic dance music, is a broader term. Broader term for like most
house,
things.
Techno, trance. Okay.
Anyway, and I'm about to use this to kind of segue into a completely different topic that's a bit more serious. But the festival itself was great. I love Chicago. If you've never been to Chicago, you should definitely go. It's a really pretty city, lots of parks. The rivers are nice. The buildings are beautiful. The people are really nice as well. It's really great. You guys should definitely go at some point. We should all go. But I'm really gonna go through one story here. So I went with some friends. We stayed at a hotel. And we go to night one and we meet up with another friend of ours who had another friend who was there. And then she also brought a third friend who she had never met before. They met on a Facebook group. I'm not saying any names or anything like that because it was a pretty serious story. But they met on a Facebook group and, she just didn't want to go to Lollapalooza alone. So she came and she joined our group, right? So everyone was having a great time, doing what you do at festivals. I won't say it out loud, but you do what you do at festivals. And then nearing the end of the night, everything's done. So the festival ends at around 10 p.m. And you basically are trying to leave. There's thousands of people trying to leave over this one bridge all at once. So you're squeezing, you're getting through. Me and one dude, we're walking at the front, and then everyone's right behind us. So we get to the front, we exit the park, and realize no one's behind us. So we realized the girl who had come with us that we didn't know had lost her phone, right? And she lost her phone. She was looking for it. She was panicked a little bit, whatever. She comes out eventually, doesn't have her phone, realized it was lost. I think in that moment, and by the way, people mix drugs at these kinds of things, right? So just there's a little bit of context there, but I think it sunk in for her that she had lost her phone. Right when she had exited, it was cleared out a little bit. She passed out on the spot.
Oh my God.
Yeah, started seizing, passed out multiple times. It was crazy. We had one of my friends had his hand in her mouth. Craziest thing, by the way, about the interaction between different units of emergency response in the US. I don't really think they fuck with each other all that much.
Really?
Dude,
what were the different units?
So police, ambulance, fire, right? Those are the three main units, right?
Okay.
So the medics, obviously, they're going to come around, they're going to care for you, right? 5 cops passed us as this girl was swallowing her tongue, passed out and seizing, did nothing. In fact, one of my buddies had his fingers in her mouth, grabbing her, because she was trying to swallow her tongue, right? Grabbing her tongue. This one cop passes by, she's like, why does he have his hands in her mouth? Ew. I swear to God, just flat out, and everyone's standing around, everyone knows what's going on. Eventually the medics came, they took a look at her. She was getting diaphoretic, sweating a lot. They took her to the hospital.
What does diaphoretic mean? Sorry.
It means when you're sweating profusely.
Okay.
Usually as a result of drugs.
Okay.
And it's just, you're just constantly sweating. You're sweating a lot, right?
Fair.
So you're getting dehydrated faster. So they ended up, taking care of her a little bit, and then they broke it down. They took her to the hospital. And then, the 2 friends that I had there, they're from Chicago, and they were just running me through what potentially this could cost for this young woman. And, the ambulance could be, $2-3 grand on its own.
Oh, God.
Just the ambulance. They had to call an ambulance. She didn't want to, but she had no choice. She could barely walk. Ambulance alone could be $2-3 grand. They took her to the hospital. She stayed overnight. They ran a bunch of tests on her just to make sure. And I think they gave her some fluids, some medication, and they sent her on her way. That night alone cost her probably around $10,000. At least that's what Buddy was telling me. And and now it's the serious part of the conversation where I'll kind of open it up to you guys as well. But I don't know, we've talked about this, about potentially living in the States and things like that. But I think especially after a story like that, an example like that, it's made me rethink, because I think universal healthcare is incredibly important, and we take it for granted. If we break our elbow, if we break our arm, if something like this happens to us, we can go into the hospital here. Yes, we have a long wait time. They have long wait times in the US, by the way. This method of privatized healthcare, and that doesn't change anything in terms of the regular person. They're still waiting 8 hours in the ER. But here you walk in, you get your shit done, you can generally walk out most times without being in debt. I think there's some procedures that you can do in the States, random ones that just occur on a dime. They could charge you 30-40 grand for them, 50-60 grand. Now you're in debt. You have to go on an installment plan.
Quick question.
Yeah.
What do employers, don't employers offer some sort of healthcare benefits package? I know you work for a U.S. company. Do you have any insight into?
I have a little insight because I asked about it, but my insurance benefits are Canadian insurance benefits,
Yeah, and like,
right?
no, yeah.
So
like,
that doesn't matter what I have, but yes, there is insurance. You know, employers provide insurance. You can get private insurance in the U.S. And there's public level insurance as well that you can get. But the thing is, insurance companies won't cover everything.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, is you have to fight for every line item that you want covered when you're on American insurance.
Yeah, I guess
most cases
that's like
they can just say like, hey, I won't cover it, and then now you have to go back and forth and fight with them, and then maybe they'll cover it, maybe they'll cover part, maybe they'll cover 10%, maybe they'll just be like, no, but we'll put you on a 0% payment plan for it. You know, all this to say nothing's like, and random procedures, these unique ones, they're never going to be covered by insurance.
Yeah,
because it's unforeseeable. It's a systematic thing I've learned, and it's really made me rethink that. But that was my biggest takeaway from this third iteration of Chicago.
What's the general attitude of governments towards universal healthcare? Like, I don't know, Davin, if you can maybe do some research, because I know like
most first world countries like strive to go for universal healthcare, right?
You say most countries, or are you asking about the US specifically?
No, I'm saying in most countries, do they? Like, I only know of Canada and the UK. Like, how many?
I think France.
Japan has universal healthcare. Japan actually has one of the best universal healthcares in the world. A lot of the European countries have better universal healthcare than in Canada. And I was actually going to say, like, the insurance part, I absolutely, like, I know, for example, if we were in the US and then, like, let's say we were like in our 40s or 50s, and then we had to go in and we had like issues, they would probably be like, oh, well, you're only like liable for 20% coverage because your lifestyle habits included like smoking and drinking. And according to these, like, you've put yourself at risk, which is not like our problem, right? And it's like, that's something like, even just between the three of us, they would definitely use against us. It would be up to us to like have like careful medical records over the course of our entire lives, and the onus would be basically up to us to prove that those things didn't have like an impact.
And I'll say that exists actually in Canada too with life insurance.
Yes.
Right?
Sure.
It's just because OHIP and other provincial levels of universal, so the universal healthcare is handled on provincial level, right? Because healthcare is handled on a provincial level. So for us, it's OHIP, right? OHIP has a certain baseline standard level of care that you will receive, right? And then it doesn't matter what your medical history is. Beyond that, insurance, you know, like life insurance, for example, or extenuating circumstance insurance, they will actually look at that. Any case of insurance will look at that. Yeah. Same way that car insurance will rise if you've been in accidents, you know what I mean? Things like that.
Yeah.
I actually have like a more philosophical like response to this, which is like, I think universal healthcare is really important because it's kind of like the government's attitude towards a fundamental thing that most people need. Like, if you want to think about it more on like a philosophical or like organizational level, what universal healthcare says is that as a group of people in this area, we care about everyone's lives and we care about everyone's health and everyone's ability to access healthcare. And thus we're going to make it a priority as a group, as this country or this governing body, province, etc., to make that like available to everyone, right? So to me, like, you know, like it's the same thing towards education or transportation. It's like, as a government, most governments are like, it's important to us that people can get around, people are educated. And like, to me, healthcare is like a really important aspect of that attitude as well, because it's like what direction is the overall government and group of people going in, right?
Yeah.
That's probably one of those things that most people should have, sort of thing. But yeah, it's interesting, man. Like, I wonder if the issue is the way the service is being monetized instead of, let's say, like I don't know if the issue is private versus public healthcare. I'm really not researched enough into this to know, because is there like private healthcare systems that work well? There might be. I don't know.
I mean, like private
be.
Private healthcare is private healthcare. You just go, you go pay for it, you get it. You know what I mean? You're paying for quality. You get what you pay for at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. I guess
there's private healthcare in Canada too, by the way. It exists.
But I mean, like, is there a country where there isn't universal healthcare and it's private healthcare, but it's actually done in a way that's affordable and people can access it? I don't
I'm not certain if private healthcare and universal healthcare are
The same thing.
interchangeable terms.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
I guess my question would be like, what is the argument against universal healthcare then? Like, is it like it's just too expensive?
Yeah, you gotta have to pay taxes for it. People argue about the wait time.
Wait time, backlog.
But again, this is why I said wait times still exist in privatized systems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or semi-private, as we're in North America. We're relatively semi-private.
Yeah.
I would say the public healthcare stuff is probably worse for mental health because that applies to a much larger bracket of people, and the specialists in that field are then way more stretched. Where unfortunately, like, not to say that like, oh, this is such a sensitive topic, because like, all this to say, like, there is a general notion that some people seek that type of help without having a clinical diagnosis, right? We're not talking about how they feel. A clinical diagnosis, clinical depression versus depression, right? So those people's times are now spread out with a larger group of people, for example, in comparison to people that might only want, like, that might actually be willing to pay for it. Does that kind of make sense?
I mean, I was gonna ask, is this opinions or is there fact behind this?
I'm only saying this to when I think about the wait times of someone out like in my previous life for those types of people. Like, those wait times are like 6 months in between appointments, right?
Yeah.
And there's only like one person, to my understanding, like in the GTA that is in that role, and they're basically overseeing like tens of thousands of patients. Like,
I mean, can't they just get more qualified people?
well, there's no incentive.
Why not?
You get paid the exact same amount.
Oh, as opposed to going to somewhere where there's no universal health.
Yeah, like over like in America, I would assume that there's specific institutions where people specialize in this stuff, and depending on the demand, like, they would be compensated for it well, and thus more people would go into it, right? I don't know, like, that might be not true. It's just like that's me looking at one specific stat, which is they had to wait a long time to get that specific help in Toronto. I don't know if it's better in
Yeah, I mean, that is
America.
the complaint of, like, I know, like, I've heard from like a nurse, obviously, like she's saying like, yeah, you end up getting like the same patient who, like, you know, nothing's really going on with, like, coming in like every day. I feel like that's from, like, you know, the healthcare worker side, and then from, like, you know, the citizen side. Yeah, like an overstress. From the citizen side, there's always, the wait times. So yeah, like, you know, everything will have its pros and its cons, but I think just kind of like to round up the conversation here, like, at the end of the day, like, I'm just curious, like, yeah, like, universal healthcare should be kind of like a fundamental human right. Like, if you're in a like functioning society or functioning democracy, like, you should have universal healthcare. I'm curious, and I'm open to hearing the arguments against. You know what I mean? I feel like we haven't really done a great job of articulating the arguments against, because we're all for it here, but.
We're all for it. We don't necessarily have to be against it just for, you know,
arguments,
for argument's sake. Like, I'm okay to just kind of talk for it. We live in a society that has universal healthcare, right? And we see the benefits. Like, dude, you had appendicitis 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Randomly in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the
next day, we were supposed to go, ironically, to the U.S.
Yeah.
Imagine it happened while we were there.
That would have been insane. You're right.
You know, one more day. Imagine it just happened while we were there.
A day later. Yeah.
You know,
it cost me a couple $1,000.
At least.
Yeah, dude.
You know, at least, because you were in the hospital overnight.
That's perspective.
They gave me multiple medications. You know what I mean? It was.
That's facts.
It was insane. It was an actual full surgery, full operation.
Yep.
And you just walked out. You walked out without paying a dime.
Not a dime.
You know, and that's, I think we take that for granted sometimes, just because we grew up in it, you know. But the point of that story was just to illustrate, like, I saw a real life example of something. And this girl, like, I felt for her too, right? She's an au pair, right? So her entire, do you know what an au pair is?
Yeah, like a nanny.
It's a live-in nanny, essentially, right? They don't get paid salary. Right, they live in, they get pocket cash, and they can qualify for a visa with it, right? Mm-hmm. So she's not from the country. She's qualified on that, right?
She's not getting healthcare.
She doesn't have insurance. You know what I mean? And it's
just
like
have an income. I guess.
Her host family, you know what I mean, is now she has to now deal with this with her host family, you know, all of that, and it's like. It's this whole thing. Like, she could get sent back as a result of this if her host family is just like, oh, like, you went out drinking. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? That's like a separate thing. But all this to say, like, you know, I don't know. It was just seeing that happen live was a bit of a reality check. that we generally have it pretty good here. And I was okay to the other side of it too. We'll wrap this up too, because I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. But one of the last things I'll say is there's people who still live in the U.S. Like, this is clearly not a swinging issue for 350 million people. You know what I mean? It's like, they obviously, and I was curious. I'm like, all right, well, doesn't it seem like a no-brainer? Wouldn't you want to go somewhere where health is covered? Like, this is such a big expense. Wouldn't you want to just not have to ever risk this? Like, what do you do if you just get slapped with $50,000-$60,000 and you're a regular person that doesn't have $50,000-$60,000 to just spend on operations? So I talked to some coworkers who live in the US, and one of the perspectives, it was a pretty good perspective. They're like, you're young, probably nothing's going to be wrong with you for quite a while. Now's the time to come to the US. You have all this freedom, you can make your money, you can do whatever you want, and then when you get a little older, go somewhere else. And that was their philosophy, and that's at least what they're planning to do. So it's obvious, it's not a standard philosophy for every American, but it's one justification I heard where I'm like, I guess that also does make sense.
It's a little bit of a privileged perspective.
It's a privileged perspective. Well, these also, both the people I asked are immigrants who came here as refugees from war-torn countries. Because when you think about that,
but they're making great money now.
Yeah, privilege of being there. Just not even the money, just the privilege of being there. It has nothing to do with the money. You know what I mean?
No, but I mean, like,
being a citizen.
I don't think they meant that example, but if you were to take that example at face value, you're essentially saying you go somewhere, you make a bunch of money, and then you go somewhere else where you didn't contribute to taxes all those years, and then you're going to take advantage of the people who did, right? In a way.
Yeah, you start paying taxes. You go there, you start paying taxes, you live there.
Sure, but then you could have also been living in that country for all of those years and contributed to the GDP and the taxes for all of those years, instead of being in the US where it's more beneficial for you, right? Again, like, I'm all this to say, like, I think, like, these are very complicated issues. Like, for example, earlier we were talking about insurance, right? And it's like, sure, someone who's like, you can't like, let's say, like, I get cancer and someone's like, oh, well, you drank a lot in your youth. Those two things might be correlated, they might be not. But the point of the matter is, you probably should consider someone's lifestyle habits when evaluating how much support they should get, right? Because here's the point: if someone else has a perfect diet and perfect lifestyle, and something happens to them, and then I don't, should I receive the same amount of compensation to them? It's also a complicated issue, right? All this to say, like, when you look at, like, healthcare specifically, like, there's so many different bits and pieces there that it's, like, so hard to make a call, where I think, like, the one thing we can all agree on is, like, universal healthcare is probably important, because everything else is, like, so nuanced, right? Like, I guess that's just my point.
Universal healthcare only works when you don't look at it as insurance, because it's not, right? It's universal healthcare. It's standardized care. But I get exactly what you're saying, and that's why it's such a complicated issue in the U.S. Because even their version of, like, Medicare and everything like that, that's essentially insurance, right? But it's not quite universal healthcare.
That's
yet.
true. Like, the U.S., a lot of the people in the U.S. fought back against Medicare.
Yeah,
when that was established, right? So, anyway, I am glad I live in a
universal health.
Go Canada.
Go socialism.
Oh, Canada.
Semi-socialism. We're still capitalists, actually. Everyone in this house.
Yeah.
We are at time. I don't want to, go too much further, but welcome back, Dolapo, to the fresh start of the Three Wise Guys podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. This has been an absolute pleasure. Behind the cameras is Davin. It's your boy Arya. I'm here with Luke and Dolapo, and until next time, one love.
We're talking about Kevin Spacey next episode.
Peace out.